So yesterday we talked about simplifying radicals. So let's talk about this weird fractiony kind of situation. This is actually on our formula chart. Our formula chart says A with a fraction of m and n, which I know is kind of weird because there's no numbers there. And it tells us that the n, which is the denominator, becomes that where that little 2 was that we don't write, and then the rest goes inside. So this is going to tell us what we call our root index, right? And yesterday we talked about when we have this square root, right? Technically there's a little 2 here, we just don't write it. And then the rest of this is going to go inside our radical, okay? So what this looks like, if I have 60 to the 1/2 here, this is my root index. I'm going to put my 2 here. And the rest of this is going to go inside. So really, this is just saying, what is the square root of 60? And we did that yesterday. So remember, we talked about how to factor menu 2, 3. So if you would do menu 2, 3 for 60 and tell me, what do we get? 2 to the power of 2 times 3 times 5. That was what we did yesterday. So we said pairs go out. Remember, pairs go out on dates. Couples go out on dates. And singles stay inside. And we only ever multiply. So 3 times 5 is 15. So the hardest part of this, I know that you can simplify the radical. It was going to be this setup. You just have to realize that denominator becomes your little root index. So when the root index is not a 2, this is a 3. So now we're going to do the same steps we did yesterday, but now we're looking for groups of 3 instead of groups of 2. So we're still going to do menu 2, 3, and we're going to do 1176. So 2 to the power of 3 times 3 times 7 squared. So we're going to write 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 7 times 7. But again, that root index says I'm looking for groups of 3. We're going to do the same thing we did yesterday. So that group of 3, it's going to go outside one time. And then in our calculator, we can say 3 times 7 times 7 is 147. So this is another one. Again, look at that root index. Oh, you know what I didn't do on the last one? When we rewrote this, I forgot to put my little 3 here because it is a cubed root, not a square root. So we got to make sure we keep that root index there. Sorry about that. So this one, you can see I wrote my little 3. Menu 2, 3 for 6750 comes out to be 2 times 3 to the 3rd times 5 to the 3rd. So the fact that we have some third powers is good for us because it's a cubed root and we're looking for those groups of 3. So when we put both of these out here, what operation do we need to do with them? We got to multiply them. And we only have a 2 left, so 3 times 5 is 15 on the cubed root of 2. So remember, when we multiply fractions, whole numbers, we can put a 1 underneath. So like on this first example, we can put a 1 underneath our 7. And then we're going to do top times top, bottom times bottom. Now you have a calculator, so this is not that big a deal. The only reason I would say definitely using that calculator to see if it reduces, 35 over 3 does not reduce. Okay, same thing here, top times top, 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 5 is 25. That does not reduce. And we're going to want to leave that as a fraction because we talked about some of those ugly decimals the other day and we don't want to deal with that. The 11 is a whole number. We're going to put a 1 underneath. And again, hopefully you remember this from 6th grade. Top times top, bottom times bottom. So in the opposite for dividing fractions, we have to do our keep, change, flip. Now this first one is written really funky. This is essentially saying 7 over 1 divide 3/4. So we're going to keep that first one the same way. We're going to change our divide to a multiply, and we're going to flip that second fraction, and then you can use your calculator. Now, you could just straight up use your calculator, 7 divide, control divide 3/4 as well. Also, make sure that it simplifies. This is going to be 3/5 times 5/2. And when you put this one in the calculator, if I do this by hand, I get 15/10. But when you put it in the calculator, it's automatically going to reduce it for you, which is super important. And this last one, 1/2 times, we're going to flip this to 1/6 is 1/12. So worst case scenario, you can use your calculator on that or the Desmos if you don't remember all of the steps.